Have you ever worked hard, every single day, and still felt like nothing was changing? Have you ever watched others move ahead faster, while you stayed in the same place? Tired, confused, and invisible? This is not a story about talent. This is not a story about luck. This is a story about hard work, smart work, and the one thing most people give up on too early: consistency. Stay till the end, because this story might change the way you look at your own journey. In a small town where mornings arrived quietly and dreams were often postponed, there lived a boy named Oliver. Oliver was not born special. He wasn't the smartest student in his class, nor the most confident. He didn't have expensive books, personal tutors, or parents who could guide him through every step. What he had was an old house, a hard-working mother, and a ticking wall clock that never seemed to rest. That clock once belonged to his father. Before leaving for work every morning, his father would adjust the clock and say, "Time never waits for anyone, but it always rewards those who respect it." When Oliver was 13, his father passed away unexpectedly. With him went security, comfort, and the easy laughter that once filled the house. From that day on, the ticking of the clock felt louder. He couldn't stop it. He couldn't slow it down. All he could do was listen. Life became practical very quickly. Oliver's mother began stitching clothes for neighbors. Some days she earned enough, some days she didn't. Oliver learned early that dreams were not free. You had to earn them slowly. Still, Oliver dreamed. He wanted to become a civil engineer. He wanted to build roads, bridges, and paths so people from small towns like his wouldn't feel trapped by distance. Every morning, while the town slept, Oliver woke up early. Not because he was forced to, but because the silence helped him think. He studied before school, after school, and sometimes late into the night under a dim light. At school, Oliver observed everything. He noticed how some students studied only during exams and still scored well. Others memorized answers without understanding them. A few relied heavily on coaching centers their parents paid for. Oliver had none of those options. So he chose the only path available to him: consistency. He studied every day. Not aggressively. Not dramatically. Just regularly. Some classmates laughed at him. "You study so much, but you're still average. Hard work alone doesn't work anymore." Oliver didn't reply. He wasn't sure himself. He only knew one thing: if he stopped, he had nothing else to fall back on. Then came the exam that changed everything. Oliver walked into the examination hall confident. He had worked hard. He had sacrificed weekends. He believed effort would protect him. But when the results came, his name wasn't where he expected it to be. He had failed. Not barely passed. Not average. Failed. Oliver stood frozen, holding the report card. His ears rang. His hands shook. At home, his mother looked at the marks and forced a smile she couldn't fully hold. That night, Oliver lay awake, staring at the ceiling. The ticking clock felt cruel. Tick. 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 He whispered to himself. "I did everything right, didn't I?" For the first time, quitting felt reasonable. The next morning, his mother sat beside him and said softly, "Effort is important, but effort without direction can exhaust you." That sentence stayed with Oliver. From that day, something changed, not his effort, but his approach. Oliver began watching others instead of comparing himself to them. He noticed toppers didn't study everything. They studied what mattered. They practiced questions, not just theories. They revised mistakes instead of repeating them. Oliver realized something painful but powerful. Hard work without smart work is like walking fast in the wrong direction. So he adjusted. He broke his syllabus into smaller parts. Focused on concepts instead of pages. Solved previous year questions. Timed himself. Reviewed mistakes. And through all of this, he stayed consistent. Some days were heavy. Some days he felt invisible. No one praised him. No one noticed his improvement. But Oliver showed up anyway. He studied on days he felt motivated. He studied on days he felt tired. He studied even when nothing seemed to change. Months passed. Then years. While others studied in bursts of panic, Oliver studied like a habit. 3 hours a day. Sometimes 4. Sometimes less. But never 0. On the day of the engineering entrance exam, Oliver didn't feel fearless. He felt calm. The questions were tough, but familiar. Not because he had memorized them, but because he had trained his mind to think that way. When results were announced, Oliver didn't top the list. But he made it. A government engineering college. For him, that was success. Years later, Oliver stood on a newly built road in his town. Children rode bicycles freely. Farmers transported crops without struggle. Ambulances arrived on time. Back in his office, the same old clock hung on the wall. Still ticking. Oliver smiled and whispered, "You were right. I didn't rush time. I respected it." Hard work builds strength. Smart work gives direction. But consistency decides who reaches the end. If progress feels slow today, remember, the clock is still working for you.